He started making music at age 6, became a trainee at 12, debuted with BIGBANG at 18, and released his first solo album at 21. Sony accused him of plagiarism. He sold 300,000 copies anyway. Then he spent 16 years rewriting every rule in K-pop, one album at a time. Here is every single one of them. 01, Heartbreaker, 2009. Studio album, debut. Kwon Ji-young entered the music industry at 6 years old as part of a children's group called Little Rura. By 12, he was a YG Entertainment trainee. By 18, he had debuted with BIGBANG. By 21, he had his first solo album, and immediately found himself in a Sony Music copyright dispute. Heartbreaker was accused of plagiarism before it had even fully landed. Sony Music claimed the title track bore too close a resemblance to Flo Rida's Right Round. EMI, who also owned rights to that song, saw no similarities and said so publicly. A second accusation targeted Butterfly, which was compared to Oasis's She's Electric. YG denied any legal determination had been made. The controversy did nothing to slow the album down. Heartbreaker topped the Minette and Melon charts, sold over 300,000 copies, and won Album of the Year at the 2009 Net Asian Music Awards. It became the best-selling album by a Korean soloist at the time. The resolution came quietly. In 2010, G-Dragon personally contacted Flo Rida's representatives and invited him to be a featured artist on a new version of Heartbreaker. Flo Rida agreed, appeared as a guest at G-Dragon's concert in Korea, and performed the track with him on stage. The controversy dissolved into a collaboration. That ability to absorb a narrative problem and turn it into a moment, that is G-Dragon. A Boy, the album opener. Written as a direct autobiography, describing what it felt like to enter the industry at 6, become a trainee at 12, and reach his debut still not entirely sure what was his and what had been shaped for him. Sets the emotional question the entire discography spends 16 years answering. Heartbreaker, lead single. Electronic pop built around a synth drop that defined his sound for the next 3 years. #1 on Minette, Melon, and multiple charts simultaneously. Over 4 million digital copies sold. The Sony plagiarism accusation arrives here, compared to Flo Rida's Right Round. It charted regardless. Breathe, top 20 single. A softer, more melodic track that showed his vocal range alongside his rap identity. The earliest signal that he was not going to be confined to a single mode. Butterfly, featuring Jin Jung. The second plagiarism accusation, compared to Oasis's She's Electric. The legal situation was never formally resolved, but also never formally actioned. The song itself is a delicate love ballad that sounds nothing like the controversy surrounding it. Hello, featuring Dara of 2NE1. A bright, playful track, the lightest moment on the album, and a contrast to the autobiographical weight of A Boy. Korean Dream, featuring Taeyang. The two members who trained together at YG from age 11, making a song together on GD's debut album. The track is about aspiration and identity as a Korean artist reaching for an international stage, written years before that stage materialized. The Leaders, featuring Teddy and CL, explicitly references Girls' Generation's G, SS501's Wuss Up, and 2NE1's I Don't Care by name in the lyrics. A confident genre exercise that established his ability to write songs that engaged directly with the K-pop landscape around him rather than ignoring it. She's Gone, featuring Kush, a hip-hop breakup track. The most straightforwardly genre-conventional song on the album, and intentionally so. Shows he could operate inside a formula as well as outside one. 1 Year Station, album closer. The most emotionally restrained track on the record? Slower, more introspective, arriving after the album has made every statement it needed to make. He is 21. The song sounds like someone taking stock of everything that just happened. A Boy is the track that sets the emotional terms for everything G-Dragon will make for the next 16 years. It is the first time he uses autobiographical confession as a compositional tool, describing what it cost to start in the industry at 6, to be shaped by a label from childhood, to reach adulthood and not fully know what is his and what was built for him. That question, which version of G-Dragon is real, runs through every album he has made since. 02. G.D. and Top, 2010. Collaboration album with T.O.P. A year after Heartbreaker, G-Dragon released a full collaborative album with BIGBANG bandmate T.O.P., the first of its kind between two members of an active K-pop group. G.D. and T.O.P. is a hip-hop record built around the contrast between G-Dragon's melodic, style-conscious rap and T.O.P.'s low theatrical delivery. The album debuted at #1 on the G.O.A.T album chart. Hi Hi, #3 on G.O.A.T digital chart. The most sonically adventurous track on the record, playful, layered, with a lightness that neither member typically deployed in BIGBANG's group material, shows what both of them sound like when the group's emotional weight is lifted. Oh yeah, #2 on G.O.A.T digital chart. Features Park Bomb of 2NE1, built around a sultry, mid-tempo groove, the most commercially accessible track and the one that crossed most naturally into radio play. Knockout, the most performed live track from the collaboration. Harder, more aggressive, built for a stage rather than a streaming platform. The track that demonstrated the two of them could hold a crowd together without the rest of BIGBANG behind them. G.D. and Top matters in the discography, not just as music, but as precedent. It proved that K-pop idols could release genre-specific side projects without diluting the main group, and that two members with completely different artistic identities could make something that sounded like neither of their individual outputs. Every K-pop subunit released in the years since owes something to this record. 03. One of a Kind, 2012. EP. 3 years after Heartbreaker, G-Dragon returned with his first EP, and One of a Kind is where the shift happens. The sound is more confident, more maximalist, more explicitly himself. It topped the Billboard World Albums chart and entered the Billboard 200 at #161. The first time most Western chart watchers registered his name. One of a Kind, hip-hop and pop-rap opener. Eyes magazine listed it as one of the most memorable songs he has written. A confident, almost arrogant self-presentation that works because the production backs up every claim the lyrics make. The track that gave the EP its name is also the clearest statement of exactly who he thinks he is. Crayon, hip-hop meets electronic. Deliberately absurdist. The word crayon has no deeper meaning, which is the point. Maximum color, maximum chaos, zero apology. It became his most internationally viral moment at the time because it refused to explain itself, and somehow that made it more watchable. Missing You, featuring Kim Yoon-ah, the emotional counterpoint to Crayon's chaos. A slow, aching ballad that arrives immediately after and resets the listener completely. The sequencing is deliberate. He wanted you to feel the contrast between the public face and the private one. That XX, chart-topping ballad, deemed unsuitable for listeners under 19 in Korea due to explicit language. A song about watching someone you love make destructive choices. The explicit words are not stylistic. They are what the emotion actually sounds like. One of the most honest things he has recorded. Without You, featuring Rosé. Blackpink's Rosé, years before Blackpink debuted. She was a YG trainee when this was recorded. The feature gave her major release catalog before her own debut, something almost no trainee receives. The track itself is a quiet, aching pop song that does not sound like anything else on the EP. That XX caused enough controversy to be age-restricted in Korea. But it also became one of G-Dragon's most beloved tracks precisely because of its honesty. It is a song about watching someone you care about make destructive choices. The explicit language is not stylistic. It is what the emotion actually sounds like. That willingness to be exact rather than tasteful is the thread that connects his best work across every era. The Without You collaboration with Rosé is significant beyond the music. She was a YG trainee. He was the label's biggest solo star. The fact that she was given a feature on his EP is one of the clearest early signals that YG believed in what she would become. It also gave her a piece of major release catalog before her own debut. Something almost no trainee gets. 04. Coup d'etat, 2013. Studio album, second. Released the same year as One of a Kind's world tour, Coup d'Etat is G-Dragon's most eclectic studio album and the one that placed him most deliberately in a Western music conversation. He brought in American producers Diplo and Bauer, then at the peak of their commercial influence, and made a record that moved through hip-hop, dubstep, rock, electro, and pop without settling in any single one. Coup d'Etat, featuring Diplo and Bauer, co-produced with both, samples Gil Scott-Heron's The Revolution Will Not Be Televised, one of the founding texts of politically engaged Black American music. In a Korean pop record, slow-tempo trap before trap was the dominant Western sound. The political title is not decoration. Crooked, described by critics as synthed-up, deliriously catchy pop-punk, fusing metal guitar riffs with heavy bass and a fully amplified chorus. GD described it as expressing his natural punk attitude, a song about a man full of angst and despair who just wants to be left alone. The most sonically unexpected track in his catalog at that point. Nyleria, featuring Missy Elliott, ethnic and surrealist, the strangest track on the record by a significant margin. Missy Elliott on a Korean pop album in 2013 is as unlikely as it sounds and works entirely because neither of them tries to meet the other in the middle. They operate in parallel, and the collision is the point. R.O.D., featuring Lydia Park, a mid-tempo hip-hop track that sits in the emotional center of the album, less aggressive than Coup d'Etat, less strange than Nyleria, functioning as a grounding moment between the album's more ambitious statements. Black, featuring Sky Ferreira and Park Bom, two different versions, the most commercially accessible track on the album and intentionally so. Sky Ferreira brings an indie pop sensibility that contrasts sharply with everything surrounding it. I Love It, featuring Zion T and Boys Noise, the most playful track on Coup d'Etat, lighter in tone, built around a bouncing production. Zion T's vocal contribution gives it a warmth that offsets the album's harder edges. Who You, lead single, #1 in Korea. The most direct track on the album, a confident statement with none of Coup d'Etat's political framing or Crooked's angst. He wanted a hit and made exactly that. The Gil Scott-Heron sample on the title track is the moment where G-Dragon signals most clearly that he is operating in a different frame of reference from standard K-pop. Scott-Heron was one of the founding voices of politically engaged Black American music. Sampling him, not just referencing him, actually sampling the original recording, in a Korean pop record in 2013 is an act of musical declaration. It says, "I know where this came from, and I am putting it in conversation with where I am now." Critics described Coup d'Etat as G-Dragon claiming his place in a global music conversation rather than a Korean one. Pitchfork covered it. Western music press took it seriously in a way that K-pop had not previously received. The groundwork BTS would later build their international career on was partly laid here. 05, K-won Ji-young, 2017. EP, his real name as the title. 4 years passed between Coup d'Etat and Kwon Ji-young. During that time, G-Dragon toured globally, collaborated extensively. Dirty Vibe with Skrillex, Diplo, and CL, Temple with Bauer and MIA, Good Boy with Taeyang, and watched the K-pop industry begin to globalize around him in ways that BIGBANG had helped pioneer, but did not fully benefit from in real time. When he returned in June 2017, he did it on a USB flash drive. No CD, no download code. A USB flash drive in an album format package with 5 tracks. Gaon refused to count it as an official album because USBs were not a recognized physical format. He topped iTunes charts in 46 countries anyway, the most by any Korean album at that point. Gaon reversed its decision by the end of the year. The USB choice was not a stunt. It was a statement about format, ownership, and what an album could be when it refused the industry's terms. He titled it with his real name, Kwon Ji-young, not his stage name. After 8 years of being G-Dragon, the EP is him insisting on being the person underneath. Middle fingers up, opener, discusses his diminishing social circle and the isolation of extreme fame. The experience of becoming so visible that the relationships around him began to disappear. A confident delivery over an unsettled subject. He sounds certain about something that is causing him significant pain. Bullshit references Crayon by name in the lyrics. Self-referential, self-aware, designed to be the lead single, until T.O.P.'s marijuana scandal made the provocative title commercially impossible to promote. So it became a deep cut instead, which gave it a cult status it might not have earned as the lead. Superstar, charted at number 4. A track about the specific loneliness of being exactly what everyone wants you to be. The title is the problem, not the achievement. Untitled, 2014. The lead single that replaced Bullshit. A stripped-back ballad, largely vocal, minimal production, almost no instrumentation in the opening. The title is dated 2014, 3 years before release. Because G.D. wrote it in 2014 and sat on it, unable to release anything sensitive while the label was managing T.O.P.'s scandal. A song about being unable to say something you need to say, held for 3 years because he could not say it. Divina Commedia, outro, named after Dante's Divine Comedy. The journey through Inferno, Purgatorio, and Paradiso. The album opens with isolation and closes with the suggestion of transcendence. That the closing track is named after one of literature's great journeys through suffering toward something better is not subtle. He did not intend it to be. Untitled, 2014 became one of his most beloved tracks precisely because of what surrounds it. A song written in 2014, held for 3 years, finally released as the lead single because the originally planned lead was too controversial to put out. And the song itself is about loss and longing and being unable to say something you need to say. The biographical detail and the lyrical content collapse into each other. You cannot separate them. G-Dragon performed it a cappella at the Act 3 MOTTE concert, and the footage circulated globally. Then he enlisted in the military in February 2018. He was discharged in October 2019. He came back to find Big Bang had fallen apart. Seungri's conviction had reshaped everything. The next release would take 6 more years, the 8-year gap. Between Kwon Ji-young in 2017 and Übermensch in 2025, G-Dragon released 1 Big Bang track, served in the military, left YG Entertainment, signed with Galaxy Corporation, and was investigated for drug use. The investigation ran from October 2023. He was cleared of all charges in December 2023 with no indictment. He donated 300 million won to establish the Just Peace Foundation to combat drug addiction in August 2024. Before the album, he released 2 singles, Power in late 2024, his solo comeback statement, and Home Sweet Home featuring Taeyang and Daesung, the first Big Bang group track since Still Life. Both charted immediately. Both signaled that the 8-year solo gap was ending on his terms. The timeline from drug investigation to cleared, to APEC promotional ambassador, to Akwon Order of Cultural Merit, to Übermensch, to Coachella closer, to Big Show, Reborn World Tour announcement. All of that compressed into 18 months. The album title is not accidental. Übermensch, the person who transcends what nearly destroyed them. 06. Übermensch, 2025. Studioalbum, Dritte. Released February 25th, 2025. 8 tracks. 3rd studio album in 16 years. The title is taken from Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of the Übermensch, the individual who transcends conventional values and creates their own. G-Dragon said it explicitly. This album is about presenting a stronger and more resilient version of oneself. Given the 18 months that preceded it, that framing is not abstract. Home Sweet Home, featuring Taeyang and Daesung. Pre-release 2024, the Big Bang reunion track. The first time all 3 remaining members recorded together since Still Life in 2022. Thematically about belonging and return. Placed first on the album because everything that follows is built on the foundation of these 3 people still being in the same room. Power, pre-release 2024. His solo comeback statement, energetic, direct, lyrically about exactly what the title says. The music video teased the full Übermensch tracklist and its visuals before the album was announced, which fans decoded track by track. G-Dragon entering from the crowd at Coachella to perform this remains one of the most pointed staging choices of the festival season. Too Bad, featuring Anderson .Paak, official title track. Funk and pop crossover. Upbeat, club-ready, built around Anderson .Paak's chorus, which carries more of the song than GD's verses. Karina of aespa and Bada Lee in the MV achieved perfect all-kill and became the second song to do so in all of 2025. The groovy beat contrasts deliberately with its lyrics, which depict the thrill and toxicity of a dangerously addictive relationship. Drama, multilingual ballad, sung in Korean, English, Chinese, and Japanese across the same track. Piano-led, vocally raw, haunting in tone. Depicts a toxic relationship through the image of a wind-up doll under constant surveillance. The piano opening echoes BIGBANG's Monster. The dance sequence in the MV drew significant critical attention for its precision and emotional weight. Ibelong, the most intimate and minimal track on the album. Stripped of the confidence that defines the first half of the record, this is GD at his most unguarded, addressing someone directly rather than performing for a room. Take Me, the most immediately melodic track on Übermensch. The hook arrives fast and stays. The song most likely to function as a gateway for listeners who find the record's more abrasive moments difficult. Bonamana, described by fans as the hardest track on the album. Stripped-back guitar, dense lyricism, G-Dragon's cadence operating at its most precise. The title shares its name with a 2010 Super Junior song, a coincidence that generated significant online debate. He did not comment. G.O.A.T drop, album closer. Synth pop, groovy, deliberately lighter than what preceded it. The shared GD initials of Gyro Drop and G-Dragon were noted by fans within hours of the tracklist release. A closing track that spins rather than lands, the album ends in motion, not resolution. Which is exactly right for someone who just named his comeback after the Nietzsche concept of perpetual self-transcendence. The critical reception split along predictable lines. Long-term fans and critics who engage with K-pop as a genre received it as a full artistic statement. An album that moves between confidence and vulnerability, dominance and introspection, across 8 tracks without repetition. Critics approaching it from outside that context found it uneven. Both readings are accurate. Übermensch is an album built for people who understand what it costs to make it. What the discography actually is. 6 projects across 16 years, each one doing something the previous ones couldn't. Heartbreaker established the template and immediately got accused of copying it. One of a Kind made him a cultural institution. Coup d'etat put him in a Western music conversation nobody had put K-pop in before. Kwon Ji-young stripped everything back to his real name and a USB drive. And then 8 years of waiting. Military service, a group's collapse, an investigation, a clearance, a foundation. And Übermensch, named after the idea of the person who survives their own story and comes out as something stronger on the other side. The thread running through all of it is the same question A-Boy asked in 2009. Which version of this is real? The industry version? The artistic version? The idol? The rapper? The accused? The cleared? The one who performed Untitled, 2014 a cappella in an arena? The one who walked into a Coachella crowd to perform Power 8 months after receiving the highest civilian arts honor in South Korea? G-Dragon has been making music since he was 6 years old. He has been remaking who he is in public since he was 21. Every album is a new answer to a question he has been asking his whole life. And the answers keep getting more interesting. We're Pop Lore Asia. The full Big Bang story is linked at the end. Thanks for watching.